proposed budget for 2021, the outreach portion of that budget. You should have, with your Zoom link, received a copy of that portion of the budget. So if you have that handy, if not, that's all right. We will display the pertinent parts as we move through this. So what we're discussing today is the outreach portion of the current fund budget for 2021. But I want to start by saying thank you. As I was saying, I wanted to say thank you. This congregation, you have been very generous in supporting outreach ministries of St. Andrews, both locally and globally. During 2020, in addition to the $90,550 that St. Andrews supported outreach through the current fund, you have given over $33,000 to the outreach organizations by gifts to these organizations through St. Andrews. And that doesn't include the money from the New Beginnings that went for outreach through the Navajo Project and support of the housing the men with CFH rotating shelter. And it doesn't include the in-kind giving that you've done for a number of these organizations this past year, or the hours and dollars that you have given to these organizations directly. So you are very generous, and we want to say thank you for that. I'm going to share the screen here. Okay. Can you see that all right? Okay. So as we said, we'll talk about the Outreach and Servant Ministries budget for this year. These are the members of our committee. I don't know how you can see them individually. I could close the screen and can wave at you. Maybe we'll do that for a second. Ann, you want to wave, Ann, so people can recognize you? There we go, Ann. Becca Peel, I know she's on her phone, but I don't think she's got video. Cheryl Juris, she's there. And Debbie Zabel. Jean Wallstrom. Joyce Arnold. Yeah, Marlene Thorpe. Shanna Nielsen, there she is. Aaron Davis.
Don't think he's there.
And then myself make up the committee. So this is the kind of an overview of the budget that we've proposed for 2021. Many of the committee members in our committee have worked very closely with one or more of the ministries that we support. And as we go through the budget today, a number of them will give you a rundown or a little information about a few of the ministries we support through our outreach program. What happened there? Oh, I skipped a slide. I'm sorry about that. There are 5 kind of core values that the outreach committee uses in guiding the kinds of organizations we support. As the committee reviews organizations, either to continue supporting or to consider adding as support, we start by looking at these core values and see how well they align with those. One of the goals or tasks we went through this past year was to develop a set of questions and criteria on how to evaluate or consider various organizations. We'd had a pretty good process of doing that, but this kind of put it in more of a specific way of doing that. And top on the list was, does the organization's mission fit in with our core values? All right. So the presentation today will go in the order of the outreach budget that we provided. I don't think the annual report budget is out yet, but it is a different order than that. This year, we started the budgeting process based on guidance from the Finance Committee. They directed us to pretty well use the actuals from 2020. And so we did that. And our first pass at the budget came with an amount that was the same as what we had had for 2020, the $90,550. Some of the things like our commitment to the Bihar project had completed. So with some of that money, we added a new organization. We increased some of the things that we wanted to be more involved with for a couple organizations. And there were some organizations we were considering supporting, but wanted to get more information before we did that. So we put some extra money into the fund called New Opportunities, so that as we found out about these organizations, if we chose to support them, we could do that. Then as the Finance Committee continued its planning for 2021, it became apparent that the projected income wasn't going to meet the proposed expenses for the year, and we were asked to reduce the budget by about 15%. We started by doing an across the board 15% reduction. And then as the committee discussed that, decided that because of the impact of COVID this past year and how many of our organizations were really focused on relief, keeping people alive, we decided that for those organizations, we didn't want to reduce the amount in the budget. And it meant that a few of the others had to be reduced by more than 15%. And what we came up with is what you see in the budget that we've sent out and have on the screen now. We do look forward to having stronger income projections in the future and being able to restore the money that we had to remove from some of those budget items in coming years. So hopefully we can do that. So let's start with the first category there, which is housing and hunger. And this kind of shows the breakdown of housing and hunger. Like I said, we'll have some of our members talk about some of these organizations that they work closely with. We'll start with Cheryl talking about the congregations for the homeless. Cheryl?
Okay, and you have a slide for us? There we go.
Yep.
All right, so most of us are familiar with the rotating shelter and the picture there. This one, I think it's at Bellevue First Congregational Church, not sure. And this year we're going to have 20 to 22 men because they have 10 of them that were there last year have gone into housing, which is wonderful news. And they don't want to add more men to the group right now because they want to be socially distanced. And they also don't want to expose the men to new people. They're kind of like a bubble with their staff and their case management. Picture on the right there, some of those people are coming during the daytime because, as you know, it's a 24/7 shelter right now. So instead of hiring extra staff to come in the daytime, they're having the case managers come so they can actually meet with the men at the churches while they're there during the day, which is very good. And that the woman there, the Muslim scarf and everything, she has been very effective and she's gotten all kinds of awards. She's helped men get into housing and get Social Security checks and things like that. And then the picture below that is the emergency shelter, which, as you know, is open 24/7 now. They only have 100 men there. That's their limit for nights because they have 100 beds and now they're separated. They were all as bunk beds, and they were kind of crowded together with only a couple feet between them. And they've been able to separate them and put some of the men upstairs, which they weren't using before. And I think it's partly the county doesn't want them to take more than 100. And If the men do have symptoms, they are tested, but if they do have symptoms or test positive, they're isolated. They have some isolation rooms there. And none of the men in the rotating shelter have tested positive. So as Carolyn Ferris was telling me, she thinks that by having this shelter 24/7, we have actually saved lives because the men haven't been exposed to COVID. And let's see, the other thing that's not shown there is the permanent housing program that they have. And they have, well, a total of about 100 men now in houses, group homes. And they opened up 2 in the last year. One of them is just down the street from me by Newport Heights Elementary School. And the other one is in Kirkland, which they were able to purchase instead of rent because of a generous grant from Grace Lutheran Church. When they closed their church and sold their property, they gave CFH over $1 million, which they were able to use to buy a house under market rate from the city of Kirkland. So they got a good deal on it, and they have been able to, I think, add more bedrooms so that they can have 6 men there. And the men are paying anywhere from $500, $600 a month for rent for some of the houses, or in some of the other houses, they have a special King County grant, and they pay 30% of their income. But they have to have some income to be in those houses. But it's really a blessing because this is for men who are chronically homeless that can't be organized or can't manage to pay their utilities, take care of a building possibly, and they're able to live with a house manager, and they have rules, they have jobs that they do that they sign up for and things like that. So it's a unique program. A few years ago, David Bowling said we were the only city that had this kind of a program with the group housing. But now that might not be true. There might be other cities that are emulating CFH. So any questions?
Thanks, Cheryl. Next, we're going to talk about the Sophia Way, and Joyce Arnold is going to give us a little rundown on that. Joyce?
Good morning, and now I think you can see me too, if you
Yes,
want.
we can.
Anyway, Sophia Way, I've been involved with it for close to 10 years now. It started in 2008, and it's a wonderful organization. The lady leading it now, Elisa Chitinsky, is real inspirational, a beautiful person. But it has been, of course, because of the pandemic, we have not been able to be as involved as we want to be with them. And they were building a new facility. They have Sophia's Place in Bellevue, and that's the one we're usually involved with, serving meals and all. And that houses 21 ladies. There is also now, which was finished in August, Helen's Place, which is in Kirkland. And it's a building that below the Catholic services have families. And on the second level is the Sophia Way ladies. And there's about 40 that can be there. They could house more, but because of socially distanced, they're only taking in 40 right now. Everybody has their own cubicle. So in the one in Bellevue, it's like their own little room. And they have a bed and they have quilts because they've been donated, and it's very nice. The ladies at Sophia's Ways, they have a lot of ladies that come in during the days. It's an emergency shelter for them, and they come in and are able to take showers and work on the computers. And there's case managers there, like for how the homeless men, and it's a real pleasant atmosphere for them. And the ladies are so neat, just like the men. You'll meet ladies that you could be sitting next to at church or in a grocery store. You'd be meeting them and talking with them and never know the difference. Some of them are just, bad divorce, or they're running away from something bad, Or one lady was working for a wealthy couple, but she couldn't afford to rent an apartment, so she slept in her car all the time. So there, and a lot of the people that actually stay, that are homeless, actually have jobs. They just don't have enough money to be able to afford to live in their own home here on the east side. Last year, despite there were 120 ladies at Red Lion during the pandemic, City of Bellevue paid for 80% of the rent, and then Sophie's Ways took care of the rest. And of those ladies, 35 of them actually have been able to get a home, and a lot of them had jobs that they went to also. Right now, because of the pandemic, we can't really do much of anything except on Amazon wish list. They don't want clothing right now because they just, the interaction between people that are not involved is just not safe. That's why we didn't serve a meal to them until this last couple of weeks ago. We're able to start doing that now, but we can't go in the building. They're very, very careful to protect the ladies, and you can visit with them out in the parking lot, which is nice, but they come out and get the food. And what our church gave to them this couple of weeks ago was enough for lunch, plus a lot of other food, and it was wonderful. And I'm hoping we're going to be able to do that again for them probably in April, because church is going to be busy in March and Easter comes. So sometime mid-April, we'll do it again. And I'm hoping we can get more people involved. But again, with the pandemic, things are on hold, and they haven't even had a meeting with the social network since November, and it will come again this month. In fact, this next week, and then we'll learn more about what's happening. Anytime anybody wants to learn anything about it, please let me know, or Marlene, who's also involved. It's a wonderful organization and lovely people to try to help. That's me. Any questions?
Okay, thank you, Joyce.
You're welcome.
Okay. Hope Link's another one we want to talk about. Probably don't have to say a whole lot about Hope Link because we've been very closely involved with working with the Hope Link Food Bank in Bellevue. Prior to COVID, they had a nice little market. You can kind of see that at the lower right-hand corner there, where their clients could come in and shop for the food that they wanted. But then starting in March, they had to close that and have been distributing food outside their food bank buildings in pre-packed boxes. And they've distributed about 86,000 of those since then, each of them containing about 21 meals worth of food. And the number of people asking for them has certainly increased during the year. So they've been working hard to keep up with the demand there. Our support for Hope Link started out pretty well in the beginning of the year, in January and February, through the Corner of Blessing. You donated lots of food for supporting them. And then during the Super Bowl of Caring, we collected a lot of food to support Hope Link's food bank. But in March, things have changed. And since then, our support has had to be primarily through monetary donations or their Amazon wish list. We're able to do a couple of collections in July and August. We did a no contact collection for food to go into those pre-packed boxes. And then in November, associated with the pickup for the Advent Fair at Home kits, we collected food to go into no cook emergency bags to help support homeless people that came for food. So that's gone well, and Hope Link keeps finding ways to provide the needed food to the community. So that's been great. Any questions on Hope Link?
Yes, I have an ongoing question, and that is, would they prefer that we give them the money, or would they prefer that we would give them the food? I mean, the cans and so forth. I always think that the money would help them because they can go out and buy cases of food rather than, you know, a few things at a time, and they can use the money as needed. But I just wonder if that's really the case or if it's just my interpretation.
Yeah. Very good question. It's a very good question. And during the pandemic, they're not really accepting any donations. So right now, monetary donations are by far the
Good.
best way to support them. However,
Good.
beyond the pandemic, before and presumably after, there is a real benefit for making in-kind donations of cans and so forth. And that is that the clients appreciate the variety of things they get that way. When HopeLink goes out and purchases something, they'll purchase a couple pallets of the same kind of cereal, and the clients really appreciate the variety that we collect. And so there's a real strength in the making the donations of in-kind or specific food items. So both are good. They probably have a little more purchasing power with the money than we do individually, but the clients do appreciate the things that we collect and give them. Okay.
Very much.
Yeah. Any other questions?
Good.
Okay. Well, any questions, excuse me, on the housing and hunger section of the budget? Okay. Let's go on to the education.
I had one.
Oh, sure.
Is Housing Alliance versus Imagine Housing, and why was that decision made?
The reduction in Imagine Housing, is that the question?
Well, the Compass Housing had an increase, and I'm going, they're both housing. I just don't know the difference between the two very well.
Okay, good. It is a good question. We had, prior to having to make our 15% reduction, decided to increase the donation to Compass Housing Alliance. The Compass Housing Alliance does housing similar to Imagine Housing, but located in Seattle. They have been addressing the needs of a more diverse community than probably the East Side. So that was one of the reasons. And we've probably underfunded Compass Housing Alliance in the past. And so we were looking at increasing that as part of our changes for 2021. Then when we needed to make a reduction, we actually reduced both of them by 15% or so. But that brought Compass Housing Alliance actually a bit higher than it had been in 2020. So that's kind of how we got there.
Well,
Compass
and
Housing, yes, go ahead.
when Grace Lutheran closed, a good portion of the finances from Grace's clothing went to Imagine, from Grace's closing went to Imagine Housing, which helped build them up a little.
Sure.
And yeah, and just to piggyback on that, it's the Compass Housing Alliance has less resources or donor base from which to draw than Imagine. And so we wanted to kind of activate a little bit more into some of the programs that Compass Housing is doing currently, because they are they're a broader group. They also do feeding sometimes. They do all kinds of stuff versus simply Imagine Housing being the singular thing about housing.
Thank you.
Other questions? All right, let's go on to education. There's the breakdown of the budget plan for education. And we'll start by talking about the Navajo mission. Jean, you want to tell us a little bit about the NELM?
I'd love to. We got into Navajo simply because of a relationship, and that's oftentimes how missions start. And because one of our criteria is that we have to have somebody in St. Andrews who will be a liaison for that mission, whatever it happens to be, as you've heard both from Joyce and from the people previously, and from Cheryl. Kate Adelman used to be at Cross of Christ Lutheran Church here in Bellevue. And because of my friendship with her, we got invited to participate. Navajo Lutheran Mission has a school. They have a primary school that goes from preschool to grade 6. It's the unit around which everything else happens. And that's why it's under education. They do a lot of other things. They do quilts. They have This year during COVID, in the voice that I put out, they've started a food bank in their maintenance shed called St. Mary's Food Bank. They have a health clinic, which is run actually by the Navajo Nation, but it's on their site so that they have a place, because it's hard to find housing for something like that to happen. So this is kind of an independent thing that's there. Then they also have a Lutheran church, the House of Prayer Lutheran Church, and they meet on a regular basis. They have Bible studies. So there's and if you see down in the right-hand corner there, you'll see the back of Parker and Dick Szabo and Roger Offner, some of the finishing touches. We were asked to come down and do to make an apartment ADA compliant. So that's one of the physical projects. And then plus redoing the library is what we did. That was a year ago in March when we went down to do that. And because of that, we've had been requested to continue in the relationship. We didn't think we were going to do this, and we thought it was a one-time project and that was it. But when we got down there and we realized that a lot of us wanted to continue that relationship because it did more than just simply build a bathroom. It's a relational thing. And now with the COVID thing, the Navajo Nation got hit a lot with this COVID, more than proportionately than any other kind of people group. And so they have also been feeding the kids. They do a bus route, and with the bus route comes their lesson plans and also comes food for their family. So they're also feeding about 80 people a day at the Hose Ho Cafe, which is in the church. Where I'm standing in front of the church, if you look to in rear, there's a kitchen. And the kitchen is where the food is served. And so this is a multi-use building. And that's what we've ended up doing. So there you go.
Thanks, Jean. Any questions on that? Okay. Next item we want to talk about is the girls' school scholarships. And Jean, again, will give us a rundown on that.
You bet. This is Paulina Madeng. My tongue won't do it this morning. We have two girls that we regularly, OBA has invited us to scholarship. We have chosen the criteria of scholarshiping girls who are going at the university level, not actually on campus or in the high school level from grades 7 to 12. We just have decided we want to especially support the girls who qualify academically to actually go on into a profession, and so that they can be employable at that point. Many in our congregations take up the individual sponsorship of girls during high school, which is so needed, and especially right now. And we decided to keep this amount the same because this is a direct impact on an individual's life if we don't provide on the scholarship level. So Paulina was one that we sponsored last year. We have another one that we're continued on into master's level. It'll be in the February voice. Naserian Kambaine is now going to be one of the first that I think that I have any memory of. We're sponsoring the first master's degree woman in chemistry in the university there in Dar es Salaam. That's quite a privilege. And obviously she's showing that she's got the academic stuff to do it. And this is going to be really a huge deal to have a Maasai woman with a master's degree, which means she will be teaching at a bachelor's level probably, or she will get hired by a company to actually work in their chemistry department. In fact, unfortunately, a lot of these girls, if they get even to a certificate in chemistry, they go to work for the breweries because they need people in chemistry to be able to do various kinds of chemical stuff. The other one we have this year is a new girl named Maria Sepere. She's a Form 4 graduate, and she's going to be in pharmacology. And so she will be also, the girls' evidence of more interest in science. So those are the two that we're continuing on, and it's through Operation Bootstrap Africa that we scholarship these two girls. Naserian is one to pray for, and then Maria Sepere.
Any questions? Thank you, Jean. Move on to some local organizations, Lutheran and ecumenical organizations, and here's the budget for that. And out of that, we're going to specifically talk about the East Side Baby Corner, and Marlene's going to tell us a little bit about that. Marlene?
Hi. Yeah, so Eastside Baby Corner, it's a nonprofit organization, and it provides families with living needs. And what that especially means in this is a lot of diapers, as you can see there, wipes, children's clothing from ages 0 to 12. It provides school supplies, backpacks, layettes for babies, and cribs, and oh gosh, it goes on and on. Like you know, like I said, the formulas for the kids, car seats, and even toys. And a lot of their emphasis is, like I said, it's 0 to 12. And so it's in Issaquah. That's the one that I've been in. And it's an organization where they accept donations from the community, and whether it's like the clothing, or people are bringing in boxes of diapers, things like that. And right now with the COVID, they closed down that for a while, but now they have opened up where people can donate, and they do it where kind of like the drive-in where you come in and then you let them know, and then you open up your trunk, and anyway, they come and take it out of the trunk and stuff for you, and everybody's wearing masks and gloves. So they've kind of got that down. So there's part of it where they're collecting the donations, and then what they do with these donations is that they give this out to care providers in 56 different agencies that are serving the families that are in need. And so what this does is it provides these type of necessary items for the families that are working, but maybe they really struggle. And so this prevents them from basically becoming homeless or losing something if you're helping them with the needs, especially like with these diapers that are really expensive for young families. And so, or even like the school supplies or the backpacks and things like that. So it helps to support them during, so that they can either continue with their work, or they can continue. A lot of times the parents are also trying to get a better education. And so it helps them during that process. So what they also have is volunteer times where you can come and you can help sort the clothing, and they'll give you a tour of the facility. It's just amazing how they have it organized, and how fast they do the sorting and going through it, and the donations that come at the same time that you're sorting the clothing. So it's pretty amazing how the organization that they have in that organization. Anyway, so you have the part where the volunteers come in, and you can volunteer to help with sorting the clothing, or like in this case, we're stacking up the diapers in that picture. Or stacking up, the different things before they go out. So, and then they also have different, obviously, fundraisers. So the one that we took part of, we did part where we did the volunteer day in February. And then we also had the diaper derby, which happens in May and goes through the whole month. And so with the COVID, so they were already pretty savvy with how to do this virtual. And so, we did it all online, and then where the people could click on the link, and they had in the diaper derby, what it is different organizations sign up, and you have a name. You can see the thing there. Our horse was called Amazing Andrew, and you sign in, and you have a different, if you donate different things like diapers or wipes and things like that, it had a point value for each type of thing, like a different size of box, or the different sizes of the diaper sizes. And so it had a point value. And then as you donate money or buy the items online, and it was all online, and you clicked on it, then they gave you a point value, and they kept track of who, who was competing with who and what place they were serving in. And depending on how large the organization is, we were in the largest one. So we were in the Kentucky Derby division. So there's 3 different horse divisions they do, and they do it by the size of the organization. So we were actually competing with like Nintendo and these other organizations that are, I don't know, doing software kind of stuff. Anyway, so, but we got 2nd place. And this was our first year that we participated in the diaper derby. And it enabled, at the end, the baby corner was able to buy 85,000 diapers and 75,000 baby wipes and over $841 in monies total went. That was the total amount for everything that was donated to the children and families through just that 1 month doing that. So, so anyway, so and they also accept volunteers, but right now, with the COVID, there's more protocol of how to do that, and there's less. I mean, people are masked up and wearing gloves, and there's distancing with the sorting, but it's been affected too by it, but it's been kind of adapting in different ways. But it was really suited to be able to do that online with that fundraiser for the diaper derby, and that went real well with that.
All right, Marlene, thank you. That was very good. Any questions for Marlene? Okay, so it's kind of the review of the local kinds of outreach. Let's go ahead. And any questions on these other organizations? Okay, let's go on, take a look at our global budget. There's the global perspective, and Jean will tell us a little bit about the Maasai Girls School. Jean?
Yeah, I'm just going to say that the whole thing here, we want to support ELCA Global Mission. That's a carryover when Marv and I were fully supported by ELCA Global Mission, and we want to stay in relationship, and we want to tell church-wide that we are still involved and still supporting global missionaries and the whole outreach in that regard. So that's why we have that piece. Maasai Girls School, this is the one that where we pay for Bibles, we pay for books, we help to support the feeding program that's in the elementary school next door. This is the one that enables OBA and goes right directly. OBA is a pass-through. So this is the one that enables them to also, we also take out of this one sometimes uniform money or anything else that goes into that along that line. We wanted to stay in relationship with Lutheran World Relief, and so we've kept a certain amount on that in terms of global. Plaster House, which we just had a fundraiser this last fall, and this was without a doubt one of the things that is a unique ministry for us, because it's the only one that's in dealing with this particular issue, which is post-surgical rehabilitation, both in terms of getting their getting their nutrition up, but then after, so there was a place for them to heal. And they have some of these have great websites, so that the best way to kind of know about some of this stuff is take a look when you're having a cup of tea or something, or take a look at some websites, and that'll keep you up to date. They have monthly newsletters that you can get out, because I want to get to Lantern Hill, and so Shanna gets a chance to talk.
Okay, thank you, Jean. And Shanna, you want to talk a little bit about Lantern Hill?
Wow, thank you for the intro, Jean. I can always count on you, my dear. Yes, thank you for a minute to get to talk about Lantern Hill. I was one of the Mexico 12 that got to travel there last summer of 2019. And as part of a multi-generational mission trip. This was my first mission trip. And I can honestly tell you that I left with such joy and hope, as well as optimism, that there are programs out there that can break the chain of generational poverty, that I became just so invigorated by it, I joined the board of Friends of Lantern Hill, and it's been an honor. On top of that, then St. Andrews has continued to make that choice to support Lantern Hill. And it has made a significant difference in the past year. The focus of Lantern Hill, it is located in Canon Buena Vista, which is located in the city of Ensenada, part of Baja, Mexico. And the mission and the vision has been focused on loving, healthy, educated children, supporting them to pursue additional education. It's pretty typical in this part of the area of Mexico that children average about attending school to the 6th grade and then going on out to the fields, or unfortunately, sometimes there is some negative opportunities for these kids. And the focus has been to provide them the support, the tutoring, a safe place to go after school, to see that education is powerful. And the greatest proof that this is working is they have currently 8 kids that are pursuing higher education, which means high school, which there in itself tells us how much we take our own education for granted, because to have 8 kids in high school out of hundreds is amazing. And then we are supporting 3 right now in university, one of which is pursuing law school. And this is a young man that comes from absolutely nothing and pursuing a degree in law. And he gives it all to Lantern Hill and that love and support. Unfortunately, like every place else in our world, they were impacted very significantly by COVID-19 this past year. And our focus really became on providing basic food supplies for hundreds of families, which what is a blessing. And St. Andrews, once again, rose to the needs, and there's individuals from our church too that did this on their own as well. And to you, I say thank you. And to our congregation, I say bless you. As the hope is really to get back to hopefully the focus on education and getting those kids back to school. Unfortunately, I just heard from Abby Williams, who is the founder of Lantern Hill. And unfortunately, COVID-19 is really taking they're kind of backsliding there as well. So there was optimism to start opening up Lantern Hill a little bit, and maybe not as soon as we had all hoped. So keep them in your prayers. It's to be noted that if one of these family members gets COVID-19, they probably will not receive any type of medical assistance, which just kind of speaks to the area and the level of poverty that these families are dealing with. So trying to keep them very much isolated to keep them safe, but also to make sure that they have basic needs. The coming year, hoping to, you're seeing a picture there of the bottom right is the new building that we are building. Our Mexico 12 were paramount in getting that first floor built. It is beautiful. And like Dean said, particularly if you are on Facebook, I would really encourage you to go while drinking that cup of tea and watch some of the videos to get a little bit of an idea of how far they have come, how far they still have to go, but it's really been quite inspirational. I would just put out the ask, as we are, one of the tech meccas of the world. They are desperately in need for those kids that are in university for a laptop. We're not talking about high end. We're not talking about anything fancy. If you know of anyone that is upgrading and have a laptop that could be cleaned, erased, whatever the tech, I'm not tech, what needs to be done to be able to send those on, they would be very thankfully and gratefully accepted. Please let me know if you have any questions at any time, if anyone wants to hear more. I do want to say that Jean and I have been in conversation, would love to connect with Doug, our new youth pastor, on the potential and the possibility of a future mission trip. Obviously, travel and COVID-19 will be driving that for the near future. But there's definitely great hope that we can provide some more members of St. Andrews the same opportunity that you all provided 12 of us the summer of 2019. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Shanna, and all. I think we're running out of time here. So I just wanted to mention new opportunities is where we have funds for things that we haven't anticipated that come up during the year that we might want to support. And like I mentioned earlier, we put some little extra money in that this past, we don't have no idea how we'll use that in 2021, but there were, I think, 7 organizations we helped during 2020. So I'm going to skip over those for right now. Just see if there are any final questions you have before we wrap up here. Okay. Well, I want to thank you for attending today. If you've seen any ministries that you feel particular attachment to or would like to get more involvement with, let me know. We always have room for additional folks on our outreach committee, and we'll be very willing and eager to have you join us. So with that, thank you. And
Yeah, thank you for.
Thank you, Dick.
Dick,
yes, Art.
I'd like to close by recognizing you as well as each of the members of the Outreach and Servant Ministries Committee, not only for this presentation tonight, but for your ongoing work throughout the year. Just listening to the presentations that you made, just is very impressive of the work that each of the organizations that you're involved with are doing. So once again, thank you all for all the work that you're doing. You're a blessing to St. Andrews.
Yes, definitely. Thank you.
Thank you, Art, and all. Have a wonderful rest of your day.